Good morning and happy Monday. I hope you had a great weekend, and I hope you're looking forward to this week or wherever you're at in your own week. Got a chance this week to not entirely finish the grave cuts in our medieval landscape, but to get enough progress that I can begin to work on kind of integrating this into the game, which is what you see here in front of you. So we're not in cinema right now. We are back into Unity in the project here. And this is the medieval landscape, and it's full of grave cuts. It's just the topsoil. I don't have the cuts built through the rest of the underlying soil yet. That process is coming along, but hopefully I don't have to treat you to it. But you can see here that it's already quite fragmented and broken up. And this is an interesting effect, and I kind of wish I knew how I did it, because it's not the effect we want, but let me show you something interesting about it. When we move this slider back down to 0, you'll see the landscape do something very interesting. That's interesting. That kind of snapping out of place and then erupting is a really interesting feature, and I don't know how I did it, because that's not entirely what this shader is supposed to do. So what the shader is supposed to do is to break up every polygon and scale out each polygon along its own normals, not just the squares, but all the triangles, and to spread them out along their normals as they shrink down until they vanish. So it's kind of a dissolve effect where it's working polygon by polygon. And this is a shader that's based on one by Kijiro, who is a shader master who posts a lot of things on GitHub and posts a lot of screenshots and demos on Twitter, and he does amazing things, and this is one of his. This is his skinned mesh renderer polygon dissolve effect. I'll have to go find it for you in case you're interested, because it is really stunning. Let me go find it for you here. Just a moment. Let's go find it here. Yeah, he does amazing things. I just can't exactly remember what he calls it. All of these things are unbelievably cool. And I don't know how they're done, but I was able to take his, so it's not this, but you should just look at his entire repository on GitHub, because it's incredible. He's got a lot of them as well. Not sure where it is in here. But anyway, just go to Kijiro on GitHub for tons of amazing things. Anyway, I used the source on this and adapted it to an Amplify Shader Editor shader graph and matched it with my vertex colored, not dissolve, but vertex colored clip shader. So I was able to stick a bunch of things together, which was pretty cool. But that's not exactly what it's supposed to do. So I was hoping to show you his test of what he's been doing. Let's keep looking and see what we see. This stuff's incredible. Well, anyway, somewhere in here. It's actually a fairly old effect of his. But anyway, hopefully we'll get there, because I have had this working on the landscape and on objects in this game in the past. So this is our new landscape object with all of its grave cuts. And I think there's something I have to do to process this, which is part of our problem. So I'm going to go in and look on our earlier models here and see if I can find that bit. So here's the Kajiro fragment material for the landscape. Very good. And it's got the regular scripts on it. Somewhere I think there's a pre-process that has to be done on this, but I don't know what. So we'll just keep digging around the file here. I also believe that I have some sort of system where I swap out the materials on these. Because the goal we're going for is the parish church tower ruins are sticking out above this landscape. And when the user clicks on any of those ruins, the landscape fragments around the tower ruins block dissolves. And that's what we're trying to do. And so I think I have the original clipping shader running here, and then when you click on it, it swaps out the Kajiro shader. They all vanish, and then it turns the objects off because we're not running the Kajiro shader at all times. But I can't remember 100%, so that's one of the things we're doing today is we're just trying to reconstruct where we were in the past. But I thought for this one, not this one, I thought for this Kajiro one, actually it requires a little bit of prepping first. So you prep your meshes, and then it writes, so the normals for each polygon in your mesh are written, the original normals are written into the UVs, I think. And then the shader is reading one of the UV channels, and that's what it's using. And so this is why we have this weird effect right now, is because we don't have that correct data in place. That's my understanding, which means somewhere I've got some sort of helper. Somewhere. It's just a matter of finding it. So let's just keep digging through this project. It was a while ago now that I worked on this. I think it was back in February, something like that. Ah, here we go. The not skinned vertex modifier. So I have to go select the meshes themselves rather than the instanced game objects. Right. See, we're getting there. So where did I put those? Models. Buildings, where's my landscapes folder? There's my landscapes folder. There's my grave cuts. And we still need to go find the meshes themselves. There's the meshes. I'm not sure if I can run it on all of these at once or if I have to run it on each one individually. Let's find out. What was that in? Was that in assets here? Yeah, not skinned vertex modifier. Convert mesh. Okay, fingers crossed. Oh yay, we get an index out of range exception. And the index not found check winding. All of that good stuff. We may need to quit this project and come back to it. Alright, I'm going to get rid of these. I didn't really add anything interesting to it, so I'm not sure if we need to have it added into the project yet, or if we just leave it in here. But we're going to just try to clear everything out here. Okay, so I've got one mesh selected. And it's outside the bounds of the array. Is that because I don't actually have... Let's take a look. So I adapted Kajiro's mesh editor, or kind of baker tool here, to work with regular meshes rather than skinned meshes. The skinned meshes is much more powerful, and it's not what I need. So this is mostly his code here in this editor thing. So this actually might need to have UVs attached to it. Let's take a look here. So line 45. Converted model asset. That's what we're looking for. And that's supposed to be... So what this does is it makes a new mesh based on the old mesh, but then with some things baked in. It says verts, triangles, and colors, but no UVs. Let's go and look up our original. One of the ones that actually works. See, this has the Topsoil 3 Ruins converted model. I just need to go find that mesh. That's part of the problem, is hunting down all these things in the project. Especially from old things like this. So this model has verts, tris, UV1, UV2, and colors. So I might need to look at all those pieces. That's lovely. I might need to re-export my meshes. I thought I'd put something in that gave it UVs if it didn't have UVs. This is part of my trouble here. So I'm just looking through here. Here's the mesh conversion. Just going through all of the indices here. So here's my alterations to it. Look at me. I'm being much more clever than I remember here. Then we get rid of all of these things. Okay, so there's no place where I'm automatically adding the UVs. I've got UV zeros and I've got UV twos. Okay, well, let's go find our original objects. Oh, where are you? Still looking around here for this. Okay, let's look for this. Ruins converted. Let's just do a search for that amongst our assets here. So there they are. And what did our original objects have? Well, I wish I'd remembered how I set this up, but that's what this morning is for, is to try to remember this. Okay, and what's an original object looks like? Let's look up topsoil _3 non-ruins. Let's look that one up. Yeah, that's not spelled right. Okay, where's that live? That lives up here in the KW soils all. Okay, here's what I was looking for. It's got verts, tries, and UVs. It doesn't have colors. That's just interesting. I guess the colors got assigned in my vertex color adjust script, but it was exported with UVs. So that's an interesting thing to figure out. So now I've got to go find the original file in Cinema to see if I exported it with UVs attached. Usually I clear out the UVs, but in this case it looks like I didn't. Okay, let's go find these guys. Boy, what would it have been called? KW something probably, but it would have been modified back in February maybe. So there's a February one. Kirby Whisk Soils all. That looks like a good one. So the KW stands for Kirby Whisk. In case you were wondering what that was, Kirby Whisk is the name of a little church in North Yorkshire. And it's the one that I based the church model on in this project. Well, the plan of it is. What am I looking for here? There's another thing I'm looking for. Oh yes, that's what I'm looking for. Goodness. Scattered today. Go into my project here. I'm going to go see. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for the FBX import of that first set. So March 2nd, 2020 is when I imported that. Yep, March 2nd, 2020. So this is the correct file. So this is the original parish church landscape. It's on a flat landscape, you can see. In some ways it's more interesting, in some ways it's less. And these are my individual fragmented areas. And look at that, they've all got UVs. Let's go see what the UVs actually look like for these, if they're just random scattered UVs or not. So let's grab, okay, so it's this guy. So that's interesting to see that they all have UVs, because usually I don't bother exporting the UVs or at all. In fact, if I do, it screws up the shaders. But for this, I need it. So let's go see what these look like. Yeah, that's not a projection of any kind. Nope, it's just randomly assigned, randomly scattered UVs. That's good to know, because I think all I need is UVs assigned. I don't need any particular mapping done for them, because I remap all of that when we process the mesh. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, these are all so scattered. These don't mean anything. Meaningless UVs. At least that's what I hope I'm working with. Excellent. Okay, so I know now that I need to go assign some UVs. And then we do need to re-export this. So medieval topsoil graves. That's the one. So I've got vert colors here. I've got a material assigned to it, but what I really need to assign are UVs at least. Well, let's do it for the whole shooting match here. Actually, let's do it this way. I think this is the way we do it. I can never quite remember. So, let's give these a projection of cubic, and then where's my generate UVs? There we go. Okay. So let's look at this one for example, and go look at its UVs and see what we can see. Where are they mapped? Oh, gracious, they're mapped not at all in the right place. They should all be 0 to 1, not spread out like this. So what's going on with our materials? They're only tiling once. Alright. Well, let's get these UVs to fit. There we go. Cubic, cubic. Box. What's going to be the best? Let's do these all cubic. Okay. Now, the big question I have is, do I need to select them all in order to reproject them? Or can I just reproject? I can just reproject them. Excellent. Well, that's going to save a little bit of time. I wonder, can I do it for multiple UVs? Let's find out. Nope, just the first one in the list. That's okay. So the things you find out, sometimes I'm exploring certain things. Hang on. There we go. Yeah, so sometimes when I'm exploring different techniques, I'll actually come up with a technique that works really well for me. And I'll think, figure that out. And then I won't keep any notes of what I did. And then I have to reconstruct it when I don't come back after a year. Like, I had this way to use the Verona fracture tool. Oh, thanks, Microsoft. Has anybody ever noticed that Microsoft products seem to excel at interrupting your workflow, even if you're not using their particular software? If you have it kind of on and in the background, it's gonna do its own update checking, and then it's gonna interrupt whatever it is you're doing to tell you that it's ready to update. And Microsoft products update interminably. I think if their updater was a little bit less kind of take over and force you kind of intrusive in your workflow, it would be far better. I mean, I know they really want you to update things because of security and whatever, and new features, and I do appreciate the work of the developers to do so much hard work for us, but the way it just kind of forces you to it just breaks right through your workflow. Hate it. Okay, so we'll save this one and we will re-export it now. Yep, we want to replace that one for sure, and we want our UVs to come with it. I guess that's in the textures and materials setting there. Normals, vert colors. Yep. All right, let's export this again. Only this time, we'll just export it straight into the Unity project. All right, maybe we're back in business. Let's find out. The old check winding error. Hopefully that's not one we need to worry about. Okay, landscape, medieval. Let's go through and make sure everything's back in place on this one. It should be okay. Now let's see if we can do our work. So now it says it's got verts, tries, UVs, and colors. So that's good. And the Kajiro one might wipe out my colors. That's another issue we might have. And I might have to reassign them with my vertex color tool. Let's find out. So let's just grab topsoil 7 ruins. This is what it looks like. Okay. Okay. So it's got this converted one now. So that's good. Let's go reassign that mesh to the one it needs to be a part of. Oh, I never did that. Okay. I'm not sure if I can do it in here or if I have to make an instance of it. I need to make an instance of it, apparently. At least it's stuck in the same folder. That's nice. Okay, so we're missing all sorts of lovely things here, but that's all right. Getting there one step at a time. So that was the one I did. So it needs to be here. Okay. All right. Which one is this one in our landscape? Is it one we can see? There it is. That's the one we can see. Okay, and let's change its material. Just need to find my key materials folder. Okay, so that's a good sign. I really like how the inside's white and the outside's green. The good sign about this is that it's not all broken up into little fragments with the displacement setting on a 1. So if we move it, there we go. That's the effect we're going for. we're going for this effect right here, where it just flies away, and then we scale it down using something else. But anyway, that's the effect. All the little fragments come flying up. That's what we're looking for. Good. One thing I'm a little bit curious about, though, is why these cuts aren't colored and why these cuts are not animating. They should vanish as well. That's concerning. There they go. There, they're vanishing. Okay, so I guess that's just my normal displacement, so I can leave it displaced any way I want, but there we go. Those cuts are vanishing out of, just disappearing almost entirely. There, that's a good effect. So they will go from 1 to 0 to vanish, and then they could come in from 0 to 1 again. Good. Okay. That's what we wanted. We're in good shape now. I think I'm going to need to reassign my vert colors. For that, I'm going to need to get my green color out, but let's do it one step at a time. So that one we figured out, and that's excellent. So 1 down, a bajillion to go. So let's go find it and let's go bake these in here. One thing I'm interested in is how these converted meshes was just interested in how the converted meshes over here. So for example, this one, the one I had done a long time ago, these look like they're still the prefabs, but all this kind of stuff is dynamically assigned, and that's fine. Okay, that's good to know. So everything I have is going to need a vertex color adjust script, probably. Good, I've got my color right there. That's nice to see. They're going to need the rubble topsoil script, which is good. They're going to need their GUID and their layer changer, and they're going to need to have a mesh collider. So these are going to need to be loaded up with all sorts of components and things which are going to slow down rendering, but that's all right. I'm just really curious about why all of my cuts are a different color. They shouldn't be. They should all be green. Oh well, we'll fix it. But first things first, let's go change our meshes. For the meshes that need to be dissolved. So all the ones that are called ruins need to be dissolved. I wonder again now if I can be greedy and try to do this all at once. Ruins, nave, tower, ruins. Ruins, ruins, ruins. Might need to pick up a few more here, but we'll start with these. So, non-skinned. Nope, it doesn't like me to do... Oh, of course, well, I'm picking the wrong meshes. Wrong objects even. I'm not even picking meshes. Let's try it again. These are meshes. Ruins, nave, tower, ruins... There we go. Now this should work. Okay, just thinking about it, and it made them. Look at that. That's awesome. Okay, great. So let's work with Ruins 8. They need to have this mesh. Very good. Ruins 9 gets their converted mesh. Ruins 12. Gets their mesh. Everything goes a little bit strange, which is good. Ruins 13 Knave gets its mesh. Ruins 13 Tower gets its mesh. Yeah. Ruins 17. And 18. And the final one is Ruins 19. Okay, all of those have their appropriate meshes. Now let's assign the correct shader to all of these, the correct material, which is going to be Giro Fragmented Landscape. There we go. Yeah, they're going to need to have their vertex colors assigned, although I kind of like this look. There we go. That's what we were going towards. And yeah, a little bit of it still survives here. See, we can play with all sorts of interesting things here, make some interesting effects. It all seems to disappear right around 0.91 or 1. But we can blow up the landscape. See, that kind of rebuilds itself a little bit, but we'll have to... There it is. Anyway, we can have a lot of fun with this one. Yeah, not bad. Very good. Okay. We're going to need to assign that vertex color adjustment script to it now. Let's go find it working on one of these, for example. This one's got the right color, so let's just copy this whole thing. Okay. Let's add this one. Come on, change with the... Trying to get number 1 over here. Well, actually, maybe we can't see number 1. Okay, maybe I got it right. 2, where's 2 live? There it is. Okay, let's see if we can get this one to change. Trying to get this to reassign its colors, but it's not working. Of course it's not working. Just going to write down the RGB values here. Oh, maybe this isn't working because it has its pre-populated thing checked. No, That's not working either. I should be changing the mesh color here. I wonder why that's not working. So what I'm hoping, usually what I do is that when the colors are assigned to an object, when this vertex color just script is assigned to an object and you hit edit in editor, it starts to, in real time in the editor, overwrite the mesh colors, the vertex colors. And that's kind of a little vertex color editor. In this case, it looks like that's not happening, and I'm not quite sure why. Just another thing to try to figure out, I guess. Let's go see if we can figure out a Kijiro one and see if it's going to pick up on the colors here. Here, we'll just add a vertex color just right here. Okay, see, that changed. That's what we wanted. So 67, 86, 22. There, see? It changed it. Everything's exactly changed the way it needs to be. And then I can click the whole pre-populated thing, and then we're not going to run into trouble with this script. So let's see if we can copy and paste it to another one. Number 8, for example. Or if I just have to add a new one every time. Maybe that's what I have to do. Yeah, it's not working. Okay, fine. We'll just add a new one every time. Okay. There, it's gone white. Let's go back to this one. Copy it. There, perfect. And we'll tell it it's pre-populated. Okay, I think we can do this to multiple though, so it won't be quite so tedious. Add vert color adjust to all of them. Edit in editor, turns all snowy and white, which is appropriate for the season. Paste in the color, they're all green. Say it's pre-populated. Turn it off in the editor. There we go, that's what we wanted to do. Let's see if we can do it for all of them now. Okay, it's going to think about it for a minute while it makes copies of the meshes and does lots of other inefficient things. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. Finally, we have our green landscape back. Only this time, of course, it explodes, which is really cool. Kaboom. Yeah, and I know, parts of it hang around, but we get rid of that. Well, cool. Okay. We got there. Slow and painful, and I'll forget next time I try this. All right. So we've done all these things here. we need to do a rubble topsoil script, and I just want to see if there's any of this that necessarily we need to worry about, or if I can just copy it across. Any of this is no, this is all fine. So we need to add a mesh collider, and we need to add this rubble topsoil script to all of them. Okay. This one should just be copyable straight across. Well, for all the rubble topsoil. So, ruins. Okay, they all got that, right? Yeah, they did. Okay. We need some mesh colliders on all of them, and then we need layer changers on all of them, the whole group of them. So they all need to get mesh colliders, and the mesh colliders are convex triggers, are they? Oh, yes, they are. Okay. So why we're adding mesh colliders to these is purely so they change their layers based on the clipping volume for the clip shader. That's entirely what these are for. And in a new version of this game, one that's built in Unity 2020, we'll actually be getting rid of that because we won't be clipping out the landscape based, well, we might, but it might not be based on mesh colliders. I don't know. We'll have to think about that for a minute. Okay, and they all get their layer changer. Yes. And their layer changer is now set up in any special way, is it? Nope. And then they also got a mesh collider, color adjust, a layer changer, and they need their, I thought they needed their GUID. Well, the rubble topsoil ones need the rubble topsoil one, which they all have, and then they need their GUID component, apparently. Okay. I'm going to grab everything that should dissolve at some point and add a GUID to it. So the GUID component is a unique ID, which is assigned to each object that the GUID component is on, and that persists across runs of the game. And that's a really good thing to have because my save files need to be able to access the state of specific objects that are loaded in the scene, and it needs to do that between runs of the game. I can't do it on instance ID because that's generated differently at runtime every time you start the game. So I need a number that is always unique and guaranteed to be unique, and one that's guaranteed to persist. And so that's what I've just done. And that's not my system, that's a Unity system. It's one of their kind of demo systems, but it's been working really well because I just reference that in my save files and I can go find that object immediately and make all the adjustments to it I need to make. So it's a good thing to do. It's a bit of a pain because I have to go grab the GUIDs and convert them to byte arrays and other weird things like that. But I've got it working, so okay. All of that is working. Good. Okay, that's where we're at. So the next thing we will do is, let me see if I can turn this on. Okay. So the next thing we will do is eventually we will work with these tower ruins and try to link these tower ruins up to this bit of landscape that's been attached to it. I'm going to turn off the landscape blocks because we don't need those. we'll leave the vegetation on for now because it's pretty. Let's see if we can find our soil blocks. So I don't need any of these. Okay, so here's our tower. Ruins, those don't appear once you press play, but these blocks do, which is kind of fun. And I need to find a way to take this collapsed rubble and match it up to all of the soil that's around it. So let's take a look and see, like the south wall. It's got a rubble builder. It's got its own whole object behavior. We did all of that with the collapsed Mesolithic excarnation platform. But there's something else. There's something about... When we click on this, we need to be able to assign it to pieces of the landscape. And I thought that was in this rubble builder script. But maybe it's not. Well, this is just the collapsed rubble, that's why. We need the intact bases. There we go. That's what we're looking for. So let's grab this one, for example. The rebuild from rubble script. And it needs to know not only what its rubble is, but it needs to know what its landscape pieces are, I think. It's got its initial occupying objects. That's fine. There it is. There we go. So there's just a... Huh, that's interesting. So there's just a null object called tower topsoil. And this controls the whole thing. That's clever. Wow. How did I manage that? All right, let's see if we can just rebuild this really quickly. In fact, let's not rebuild this really quickly. Instead, let's just go grab... Let's just swap out these old references to the old landscape model with the new landscape model. That's what we'll do. That's the clever thing. Clever person would do this. And I'm a clever person. Nope, we don't want to do that. Let's go back down. Okay. So what are my topsoil pieces here? What are the ones that belong around the tower? 7 belongs around the tower. I'm going to write this down, make a note of it. So we got 7. 8 doesn't. 9 doesn't. 12 certainly does. 7, 12. This one that's called tower, absolutely. So 13 tower belongs. 14 doesn't. 17 does, actually. 18, not really. Okay, so according to my notes, we need 7. 12, yes. 13 tower, yes. 17. Yeah, we still need some of this though. I thought I split that off. Yeah, I thought I split these off. I gotta go back and look for that now because I thought I split these fragments out so that I had a tower. So I had a tower section. Okay, but for now, it's just 7, 12, 13, and 17. Okay. So we will go into our... I'm going to take this out of its group. assign it what it needs to be assigned. So it's 7, 12, 13 tower, and 17 for now. Okay. Does it need anything else? It's material based. All right. So I just have a null that's just working for all of them. Okay. And it references other Rubble topsoil scripts. Okay. We'll see if that works. All right. I assume nothing I do here will even remotely function once I press play. But we'll give it a try anyway, just to see where we're at for tomorrow. Or for Wednesday. So I assume all of this will disappear. Because we're actually in the Mesolithic, not the medieval. That's what the game thinks. Nope. Okay. Well, let's click on this wall and see what happens. Not bad. Not bad. It worked. I don't know what that is, but it's being weird. Oh, it's weird. Okay. But anyway, right. Well, that kind of worked. Nice. All right. Success. We'll call it quits there. I need to go in a little bit early this morning, and because they all need to get on, my family all needs to get on the road a little bit earlier this morning. We all do. So we'll leave it there. And on Wednesday, hopefully I'll have reconstructed this a little bit more completely, and we're actually moving into wiring up all of these assets we've created with the gameplay proper, which is really quite exciting actually. So until then, I will see you on Wednesday, and until then, have a great week. Bye.